So in this lesson, we're going to talk through how to play Scarlet Begonias by the Grateful Dead. Now, I'm basically just going to go in chronological order of the song and show you all the parts. So it'll start with the intro chords, and then I'll go into the verse chords, then I'll go into the chorus, and the few lead lines that they play in between, and then we'll finish off with soloing, as always. So, first off, for the intro chords, it's actually pretty simple. It's a back and forth between B and E, and then B and A. So you start with, this B chord here, up to an E, then down to an A. Right, and that intro sort of just repeats until they're ready to go into the verse. Now, you can play these in different ways, these chord shapes. You could play B here, an E, then down to an A. It's totally up to you. If you're familiar with the cage system, you can play around with it as much as you want. You can come up here and do it, and that goes for the rest of the song too. I'm going to show these to you in one chord shape, basically, but know that you can move these wherever you want, depending on what kind of voicing you want to hear. So that's the intro. Just those technically 3 chords, but 4 changes. Now for the verse chords, it's going to start on an E, go to a B. And you'll notice that in this verse, there's a pretty iconic lick right there. So what they're doing there is starting on the B, so the 7th fret of the 6th string, then sliding up from the 9th fret to the 11th fret of the E string, and then playing the 9th fret of the A string twice, and then the 11th fret of the A string and the 12th fret of the A string. So repeated. Then it goes to an A. E, B, A, then E. A, E, B, A, E. Back to the intro. And back into another verse. This goes into the chorus chords. So you hang on for the B, F sharp, B, A, and then an E. And right after this E, there's another lead line that is worth learning. So again, from the beginning of the chorus, you got an F sharp, B, A, E. Now, that phrase right there is kind of similar actually to the one in the verse, but you're going to start with two open 6 strings. You're playing the E twice. Then you're sliding from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret of the E string. And then you're playing the 2nd fret of the A string twice, hammering onto the 4th fret of the A string, and then playing the 2nd fret of the D string. Then you go back into the chorus. And then again. But then, at this point, the chorus is ending and they're going back into a verse. And they do this sort of ascending line that is exactly what I just showed you, but changes relative to new chords. So this line was based off of the E chord. Now, when they're ending the chorus, they only do that once over the E, but then they do it over an F sharp chord. So what you have to think about is how this phrase looks relative to that open E string, because that was the first note of the phrase. The shape of the phrase is the exact same as you move up, but it's just got a different root note or starting note. So for this F sharp, you'll start with your pointer finger on the root, play the same exact shape, right? Then you do it for the A, then the B. And there's a little bit of a break there before it goes back into the verse where you can kind of just noodle around a little bit if you want to. But that's the form, right? You've got the intro chords, the B to E, B to A thing. You go into the verse, you can play that lead line right after you go down to that B, and then you'll go into the chorus. Again, the chorus is kind of two parts. You start out with the F sharp, then B, A, E. You do that twice. And then you do the ascending thing. And then you're back into the verse. So the last thing that I'll show you before getting into soloing is the last lick in the song, I guess. It's the one that leads into Fire on the Mountain. It sounds like this. Now, what I'm about to use to refer to this phrase is arpeggios. If you're not familiar with arpeggios, I definitely recommend checking out Tuff.Club. I haven't talked about it in this video yet, but Tuff.Club is my online jam band guitar course that has lessons on everything that you would possibly need to be able to learn these songs on your own, solo over anything, develop all of these skills that might be, sort of niche and very specific to the jam band genre, as well as, a ton of tablature from really famous jam band solos and mini lessons on songs and a whole community and whatnot. So if you don't have a strong understanding of arpeggios, this part might not make sense. You'll still be able to see all the notes that I'm playing, but just so you know, it'll make more sense if you went and checked that out. So the first three notes of this line are from a B major arpeggio, playing the 1, the 3, and the 5. And you actually reach up to the 1 here on the 4th string. So now that next note will be the flat 7 in B, but it's just the 7th fret of the D string. Right? Now next you're going to play an F sharp minor triad, or F sharp minor arpeggio. So you got 1, flat 3, 5, and you're going to land on this B, so the 9th fret of the D string. Then you're going to play the 9th fret of the D string to the 6th fret of the G string to the 9th fret of the G string, and then you'll play the 8th fret of the G string. And then you'll walk down an E major arpeggio. 5, 3, 1. And that's it. So for the soloing portion of this, I like to solo over the verse progression as you saw at the beginning of this video. Now, just to reiterate, the verse chords are an E, to a B, to an E, back to a B, then you got an A, E, So you can think about this in two ways. You can either go with the E major approach, where all three of those chords fit, right? The B is the 5 of E major, the A is the 4, the E would be the 1, or you could play a B mixolydian. Now, I don't think that one way is better than another. In fact, what I tend to do when I'm playing over this song is more so focus on the chord tones for each of those chords specifically, because I feel like the chord change is so distinct that if you can accurately hit those chord tones, it's just a little bit more effective than playing in one scale and kind of, playing around with less direction. So what I typically will do is, like, right as it comes in on that E, I'll land on an E note, right? 12th fret of the E string. Generally, over this section where it's just switching between an E and a B, I will center around a B major scale because, if you know from Sugar-E, if you're assuming that the B is the 1, the E is the 4. And so you're really just playing a 4 to a 1, right? If I'm taking this C-shaped B major scale. Again, if that doesn't make sense, there's Tuff.Club lessons on that. But if I'm taking that C-shaped B major scale, I can find this E chord right here, right? And I can highlight all of those chord tones, and I'll use the scale that I'm playing, so this one that I highlighted, as the notes, but I'm going to highlight over that E chord those chord tones that I found from that chord. Now, in previous YouTube lessons, I've done like deeper descriptions of kind of what's going on there. But again, the cage system and the chord shapes and the scales that you can pull from each of those shapes are really important to understand. Obviously, on Tuff.Club, there's a lot of lessons on it, and I do really recommend checking that out because in those videos, I show my understanding of it, and it made a lot more sense to me than any way that someone had taught me in the past. So if nothing else, just try it. There's a 7-day free trial. So there's really no commitment. But anyway, when it's over that E chord, I'm going to highlight these chord tones. And when it goes to the B, I'll highlight the chord tones from that B chord shape. Now when it goes to the A, I know I can just move this down, right? So, this chord, though it kind of alters the comfort level of being able to play in one scale the whole time, it gives you a good opportunity to really sound like you're following the progression because you are hitting those notes that are perfectly appropriate for that one chord. So that's what I would recommend. Set up in sort of like a B major, right? Using this shape. Here's your E, here's your B, here's your A. So when it moves down to the A, right, you can sort of just play off of those chord tones. Now, I'm going to show you that solo from the beginning of the video again so you can see this in action, but know that it's not just confined to these chord shapes. You can move this all over the neck using the same principles. So I'll show you the solo. If you have questions, leave them in the comments. If you want to join Tuff.Club, there's a link in the description. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next lesson.